In the last video, we have found what all things happens on the PC. So what we want is the PC1 want to send and communicate to PC2, which is having the destination IP address of 192.168.2.10, and the source IP address is going to be 192.168.1.10 for the PC1, and the IP packet will be crafted in that way. Now, for the packet to send from PC1 to the router 1, it identifies that there is a default gateway configured on the PC, which is of IP address 192.168.1.1, and it actually sends that packet to 192.168.1.1. But the problem is there is something called data link, and the data link layer packet in the Ethernet packet, it has to update its own MAC address, which is the source MAC address, and it has to update the destination MAC address, which is in this segment the destination MAC address of the interface FA01 of the router 1. Now the problem is, how does a PC identifies the MAC address of router 1's FA01 interface? And how it identifies is it actually sends a ARP broadcast. So it actually sends an ARP request, which is a broadcast telling to this particular segment, tell me who is having the IP address 192.168.1.1, and I am in need of the MAC address of that. So once this ARP request has been received by the router 1, it is going to respond back telling that this is what is my MAC address. So that was where we have been stopped in the last session, and here we will now see what is actually happening at the switch level. So let's go and zoom in into the switch. So now what happens at the switch is, let's assume that this switch was freshly powered on. There is nothing, no information as such in that switch, or it is just been configured to have the management access, and there is nothing in that switch. So what happens when the switch is freshly powered on is it identifies that there is a request coming from FA01, and it identifies from where the request is actually coming from. So it knows that IP address 192.168.1.10, which is the IP address of the PC. So it is going to update its switching table or the CAM table, telling that, okay, I now know the MAC address of that PC, because if you remember in the last video, we have seen that the data link layer updates the MAC address with the PC's MAC address. So now it updates its MAC CAM table, telling that, you know what, I on my interface FA01, I know there is a MAC address, and the MAC address is the PC's MAC address. So it actually updates that. And then, since it is a broadcast address, since it's a broadcast, which is an ARP broadcast at the data link layer, it actually sends the packet to all other interfaces here. So in this case, there is only one extra interface. It will not send the broadcast back to the interface through which it has received, but it will actually send to other interfaces. And in this case, it is going to send that broadcast. It relays the broadcast to FA02 so that the router is going to receive it. Now let's see what happens once the router receives the ARP request. We'll see that in the next video.